Hey, what's going on, good people? Welcome to Russ Can't Fly. Let's get it! Okay, so before I go over and fly, I got to get some subscriber shout outs. I really do appreciate all the people who have subscribed to the channel. It really does mean a lot to me. It's made my journey that much more enjoyable, and it has actually made it doable because I know that all of you guys have been supporting me, praying for me, laughing with me, ups and downs, all that good stuff. So I really appreciate it. So I got my list. So my first person I want to give a subscriber shout out is to my niece, Quaylin Allen. Yo, Quay. Thanks for subscribing to the channel, little niece. I really appreciate it. I really do. I also want to give subscriber shout outs to One Dog Geek, Jay Kempo, Jordan Mayes, Matt M, and Ayana Lewis. So my sis, my little niece, Quaylin, One Dog Geek, Jay Kempo, Jordan Mayes, Matt M, and Ayana Lewis. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go fly.
Actually,
Want to do the priming?
Yeah, go off on the mags there. All right, fuel pump on. Mixture rich. 1, 2, 3. Bring it back lane. Fuel pump off. All right, try and crank it again.
Okay.
Hands on the throttle here. Mixtures, all right.
Wings traffic, Cessna 53340, taxiing from the upper ramp for runway 24 wings. Okay, so this video is going to be a little different. Well, because the flight was a little different. I got to the airport, my CFI basically said to me, yeah, we may not be able to fly because there's a TFR in the area. And I'm like, TFR? I kind of remember something about that. Usually I would hear TFRs if there was like a Phillies game or something like that, and we were flying out to the east from Wings Field. But since COVID has been happening, not much has been happening. So I'm like, why is there a TFR, or a temporary flight restriction? Well, it has something to do with the fact that there's a pretty well-known Delaware resident that oftentimes shows up there on the weekends. And so, but before I get to that, let me show you exactly what this TFR looks like. So I've opened up my ForeFlight app, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. Now, if you see this circle here on the ForeFlight app, you see two circles. So first of all, I'm going to show you exactly where this TFR is and exactly where Wings Field is located. So see right there, that's Wings Field. So where you see that little flag and that runway denotation, that's Wings Field. And then right to the west there is the TFR. And so you see it's two big rings. I think it's 23 nautical miles, but there's a central ring and then an outer ring. So the outer ring you don't want to be in, the inner ring you really don't want to be in. But the thing that kind of sucks is that in order to go through that area, you've got to get some clearances, and it's just not worth it. And so it definitely changed the nature of my flight lesson, because it's a no-go zone basically. And I definitely feel sorry for all those folks who are located down in Delaware, because they basically get shut down for the most part. So that's the TFR, and that's why this flight looks a little bit different, especially on takeoff. All right, so I'm gonna depart runway 24, and if the engine's not making best power, I'm gonna pull the throttle, exit the runway. If we encounter a problem and we've already rotated but below 1,000 feet, 100 feet, there's runway left, back to the runway, on the brakes, throttle out, and exit the runway. If we've rotated and we're above 100 feet but no runway left, we'll land straight ahead, try to avoid any obstacles. If we're above or at 1,000, we've already rotated. Of course, we won't have any runway left. We'll hit best glide and see what our options are. We'll not try to make the impossible turn.
Yeah.
Because they call it the impossible turn for a reason. So that's beginning. So we're gonna go out and head north. But avoid that car.
We keep an eye on the TFR.
Yep.
Turn over the turnpike, turn like right before it, and then keep at least on the turnpike or east of the turnpike.
Okay.
On it or east. Okay?
Okay. Alright, so one last flow, flaps are up, full rich, fuel tanks are low, trim set for takeoff. Taxi light, landing light.
You don't need the taxi light on.
Oh, don't need taxi light? Okay.
You can keep the landing light and strobe light on.
Okay. And I don't see anybody coming on final, I don't hear any calls. And the field looks clear. And are we ready to go? Ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Wing traffic, Cessna 53340 departing runway 24. We'll be heading to the north wings. I tell you one thing, flying yesterday, I was glad we were in Quebec Sierra.
Yeah.
I don't know if this thing, I would have been able to get through it.
Yeah. That's just the energy management on this one would be tough on down, especially on a day like yesterday.
Yeah. All right. 24. 24, 24. All right, heels to the floor. Full power. Engine instruments are in the green. Oil temp, oil pressure all look good. Airspeed is alive. And rotate. At this point, I'm really looking for that turnpike so that I can stay east of it, because just a little bit on the other side, we're in the TFR, and I don't ever want to fly with a jet escort unless I'm a VIP, because they want to escort me, but not under any other conditions. Now I'm going to highlight where the turnpike is, but you'll see it in a minute. And as soon as it comes up, like see it right down there, yep, on the other side of that, that would be real hectic. So as you see me do a quick turn to the right to get rid of that, because if you see right underneath, the turnpike is right there. One side bad, other side good.
Go to a north heading there.
Okay. Wing traffic, Cessna 53340 heading out to the north, last call, wings.
Beautiful. Keep climbing up to 3,000 feet now.
Okay. Alright, climb, airspeed 70 to 80 knots.
45 for 30, Somerset, you on frequency?
Throttle is full. We're gonna lean above 3,000. Still headed to the north. Landing light is off.
45.
Instruments check. So north, and oil temp, oil pressure all looking the green and good to go. Headed towards 3,000.
Going down to Van
And we
Zandt in the
are east
Waco.
of the turnpike, and we are flying away from the TFR. I haven't talked a lot about the Federal Aviation Regulations or the Aeronautical Information Manual, or by most pilots known as the FAR-AIM. It's a pretty thick book of regulations and guidances that dictate any number of things about flight and airspaces and what I'm supposed to have in terms of licensure and knowledge. And I mean, basically it's the federal regulations that govern flights, pilots, airports, you name it. And so temporary flight restrictions, or TFRs, specifically for the one that I'm dealing with, is found at section 91.141, or flight restrictions in the proximity of the presidential and other parties. And so, as you can see, this TFR is pretty serious because we're talking about the President of the United States. And I'll put this, just real quick. The Section 91.141 basically says that no person may operate an aircraft over or in the vicinity of an area to be visited or traveled by the President, the Vice President, or other public figures, contrary to the restrictions established by the administrator and published in the notice to airmen. So that TFR for President Biden is basically, produced in a notice to airmen, and it is shown on the map. And in fact, when I come into any of the buildings at Wings Field, it shows the TFR. So I'm well aware of it. So as you can see, it's a federal regulation, and you don't want to break the law. As you can well imagine, breaking or busting a presidential TFR is serious business. F-16s could probably be scrambled. Anytime you see military aircraft, not a good day. Probably get a call from a tower or some other FAA authority. You might even hear something on the radio to take a number down, call a number. It just would not be good. And for me, being a student pilot and being with a instructor, licensures could be in jeopardy. So definitely not something you want to play around with. So just wanted to talk about this particular situation that's come up, and some of the regulatory requirements and things like that, because I thought it was interesting. And I'm not going to get too much into anything else I did this flight, because it was just this is what it was kind of about. But since I'm showing everything about this journey, I just wanted to show that this was something I had to contend with during this particular flight lesson. And of course, every flight lesson I learned something pretty spectacular. And thinking about the temporary flight restriction and not busting it and all of the consequences was pretty interesting. So all right, let's get this puppy back on the ground. Thank you for taking this flight with me. All right, so it's always interesting anytime I have to fly and there's a TFR. And listen, President Biden, can't be mad at him. He's from Delaware. That's where he's always lived. But my man be jacking me up with that big TFR. But it's all good. At least I get to still fly out of my home airport. I feel bad for our sister flight school, Fly Advanced, down in Delaware. So they can't do anything because they're basically right in the heart of that TFR. So a lot of times I'll see them up at Wings Field doing their training because they're just on lockdown. But at any rate, so that's what you see. And it's interesting. Who would ever thought that President Biden would have an impact on my flight training? Who knew? Anyway, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I would definitely appreciate it. I will definitely give you a subscriber shout out. Thank you for joining me on the journey. Thank you for all the love. We're getting close, people. I can smell check ride in the air. All right, I'm out. Russ Kid, Russ can fly. Peace.